Mm. Yeah, we're doing this later than I would have liked, but it is what it is. I was planning on doing this maybe. Anyways, what happened was that I had planned on doing this kind of early, like I did yesterday, where the stream was at I think 12, and I fell asleep, so that was the reason it got delayed. Um, but yeah, we have. I noticed I hadn't discussed Manchin in a while, even though he's like the worst senator on the Democratic side, pretty much indisputably. But then again, politics in general for the last maybe 4, 5, or 6 weeks has just been so boring. Like everything that is discussed on a national level now is the same two things. It's the virus and how stupid people are for like either still believing in it or uh, rushing to get off of it, like in South Carolina, or it's the Floyd stuff where they're calling everybody racist. So it's been pretty lame. But Manchin's found a way to still do stuff in the midst of it. So I'm gonna play some clips of him. I'm gonna talk about how dumb he sounds during them, and then we can wrap this up. What should we grab first? I guess maybe we should just use the ones from this week. All right, this one, Manchin delivers 4 remarks, and we got a little stupid commercial, probably. Oh no. Uh, Regarding the Senate Great American Outdoors Act. Because this is bipartisan, he might actually say something that might not be entirely terrible. Let's watch.
The Senate will take the first step towards passing the Great American Outdoors Act with the vote to invoke cloture on the motion to proceed to the House bill that will be used as the underlying legislative vehicle. The majority of my Senate colleagues have co-sponsored this bill, and we have an incredible opportunity to enact this important bipartisan legislation. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that our nation is in turmoil and hurting. We are still very much in the midst of both a health and economic crisis, and this weekend, we saw millions of people join peaceful demonstrations in communities across the country. It is so important that we in Congress take action, and I'm so pleased that we have returned to legislating. There is no shortage of important businesses for us to address as a body. The Great American Outdoors Act will create jobs while protecting and expanding access to the great outdoors across our country for everyone, whether it be hunting, fishing, or hiking in the Monongahela National Forest in my great state of West Virginia, or rafting down the Gauley River, or learning about Civil War history, just to give a few examples of my home state, West Virginia has to offer. This is a legacy that we can all pass down to our grandchildren and generations to come. And it's been a long time coming. I want to thank my good friend, Senator Lisa Murkowski, for working with us through the committee process. I'd also like to thank my colleagues, Senator Gardner, Senator Warner, and Daines, Cantwell, Portman, King, Alexander, and Heinrich for their work over many years on the Land Water Conservation Fund, or as we call it, LWCF, and deferred maintenance bills that are now joined together as the Great American Outdoors Act. LWCF, this bill would realize a goal that so many of us...
It's Splendora. We haven't seen you in so long. Are you okay? Oh, he finally reappeared. I thought something had happened to you, as I had feared. Wow. And let's read his grand return comment. Now is not the time to protest. Protests break out en masse, and instantly there is a major resurgence. I can't say the virus's name because I'll get copyright struck, but no, that was basically my point. Why the hell during a pandemic where you've got this, and I guess maybe, I'm not trying to justify police shootings, but they've done a lot of different instances of brutality that have been alleged by various people. And I'm not trying to pretend that what happened with Floyd was a minor thing, but part of the reason I didn't get the point of going out and protesting it was half because we'd already seen stuff like it before, which doesn't justify it, but it's not like some major, huge thing that's never happened. And it's amid a pandemic where people are infecting each other left and right. So, but him doing like the peaceful protest thing, I'm not. I guess I'm not going to get too mad over that because I'd rather he pretend like it's just people being nice. I would like for him to at the very least admit, hey, social distance or do something and not keep spreading this virus. You really have to ask. Uh, so this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. Uh, oh, I already did a video about that like 3 years ago, where as long as they vote to get rid of it, I don't really have a problem with it. But if they want to go around and tear a statue down because they say this person was racist or this, like, that's stupid to me. Because I actually did do a video about how this guy broke some George Washington statue or bust just because he felt like it. But again, if they go through the legislative process to remove it, where people have a vote, like civilized individuals in a democracy, I don't have a problem.
And this body have fought hard to attain for so long, to provide permanent mandatory funding for the Land Water Conservation Fund at its fully authorized level of $900 million annually. Last year, the Senate passed a public lands package by an overwhelming vote of 92-8 that permanently authorized the LWCF, the most successful land conservation program in our nation's history. A vote that bipartisan is unfortunately unheard of today and speaks to the overwhelming popularity of conservation programs in every state in the country. The day after we secured permanent authorization of LWCF, I made it clear that our next hurdle was achieving mandatory full funding. The Great American Outdoors Act includes the LWCF mandatory funding bill that I introduced, and along with a lot of help from all my friends on both the Democrat and Republican side.
He's friends with everybody. Okay, Splendora says BLM destroyed a statue of Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's stupid. Now, if they had gone about getting votes to secure it being removed, because I always flip it. I said, what if there's a Martin Luther King statue and someone, I don't know, picks something they don't like about him and they go and bust it? So we're just supposed to go, well, it's okay because someone has a right to an opinion. No, they need to have a democratic process to remove these things. So they're behaving like just uncivilized people when they do stuff like that.
We had strong bipartisan support for mandatory LWCF funding, with the majority of the Senate co-sponsoring the bill, and a strong bipartisan vote coming out of committee. We need to secure this funding because since the LWCF was established 55 years ago, over $22 billion, think about that, over $22 billion have been deposited in the LWCF fund, but was never appropriated and went into the Treasury.
I like how he's trying to pretend that 22 billion is so massive and huge, and oh my God, how the hell could they not appropriate this? But then we have these 700 billion annual military budgets, and he won't even say anything about that because he gets paid by defense contractors. Yeah, this 20 billion. I can't believe they didn't appropriate it. Oh, what's that? We have several hundred billion annually that we use for the military. Shh. Be very, very quiet.
And although every state, territory, and almost every county has benefited from LWCF, it has only been fully funded twice in the 55-year history. Only twice have we gotten full funding. Think what we could have done with that $22 billion. Despite that, the LWCF has been able to do wonderful things with the funds that have been appropriated, which in recent years have averaged about half of the...
Hey, Black Pill, you can just exit right now. I read that post you wrote about he better not be attacking my boy Manchin in my lovely state of West Virginia, where I get all that sweet thigh from those chicks. So I'm just you can just leave because we already know what you're gonna say. It's all pro Manchin. It's all pro West Virginia skank. We just don't need it. Been writing on web novel. Oh, I didn't know you were such a lucrative writer. But no, that part about only twice in 55 years stuff's been funded. I'm actually gonna look that up. That sounds pretty interesting. I don't really like these people, but if they say something that sounds kind of absurd, just in the sense of, wow, we really haven't done this in that long, I typically will either concede or look into what they're claiming. Because I remember with Murkowski, she was pissed about maybe 4 or 5 months ago because she had some big energy bill, and it was like 70 people who co-sponsored it, and literally the big deal about it was that we hadn't had an energy bill, a major energy bill, in over 10 years at that point. And still we haven't had one. It's going to be 11 or 12 soon because it got blocked by some clowns. Damn, just when you hear stuff like that, it's like, how does that happen where you just a decade goes by with no energy bill or 50 years and you only get to fund this program twice fully? I guess when they defund the police next week, we'll be able to fund that program. I remember when they tried to do a real world West Virginia type of MTV show. They don't do their jobs. Yeah, because Jim Justice makes excuses for them. He lets them get away with that.
Authorized funding level. And in previous years, even less than that. Just imagine what we can achieve for our country with this full funding. The LWCF is the primary conservation funding tool that helps provide public access for hunting and fishing and recreational use of public lands. It also helps fund state and local parks. It helps maintain working forest through the Forest Legacy Program. It protects historic battlefields through the American Battlefield Protection Program. And it helps landowners voluntarily protect habitat for endangered species.
Oh, it's so helpful.
Permanent LWCF funding will help improve access to public lands, including providing important access for hunting and fishing opportunities, and will ensure that.
What the hell does that even mean? Important access for hunting and for, like, they don't even explain it. We're supposed to take his word. It's going to provide all this stuff. That's very important. Well, why is it important? And how will it be supporting these, whatever?
The program remains an important contributor to a strong and growing outdoor recreation economy that will benefit state and local economies throughout our nation. A recent analysis from Boston University shows that at full funding of $900 million a year, the LWCF could support approximately 15,000 to 28,000 jobs at a time when our country needs them most. Passing permanent LWCF funding authorization last year.
No, I don't need to hear anything about providing this many jobs or whatever, because when that virus was going on, all of the senators and congressmen as well, except for Massey, sat around and pretended like we couldn't fund people who were getting laid off. So clearly being employed does not matter to most of these members of Congress. That's a joke.
Year was an important step, and we are so close to realizing the ultimate goal of fully fulfilling the original intent of the LWCF program and securing a permanent, dedicated funding source for the multiple conservation programs funded by the LWCF. The Great American Outdoors Act also includes $9.5 billion for deferred maintenance project on federal lands, with 70% of that amount dedicated for our national parks. Senators Portman, Warner, Alexander, and King, and many others have worked so hard on that original legislation, and I was proud to co-sponsor and support it as it went through the Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee. The legislation will be the most significant reduction ever in eliminating a major portion of the deferred maintenance backlog on our national parks and public lands. The impact of failing to fund parks maintenance for so long is clear to see. Last summer, I visited Pearl Harbor with my family. Let
me read what Splendora said. Antifa needs the National Guard to go and get rid of that. Excuse me? I know I didn't just read a curse word. You have Antifa breaking laws, fighting fires, keeping the police out, and essentially holding 25 blocks hostage. No, it's okay because they're fighting the alt-right or fascism or whatever the hell. whatever way they like to justify it. It's like, oh, you did all this property damage against people who aren't even part of the groups you're talking about. Well, at least you're fighting the groups you're talking about. Let me hear about this clown's trip to Pearl Harbor. Let me sort of hear this.
I was incredibly disappointed to see the state of disrepair it was in. With faded and torn signs, audio displays, lights not working, it was an embarrassment. The infrastructure projects that will be funded through this bill are critical to protecting many of our national treasures, and like the LWCF funding, will provide a significant benefit to the outdoor recreation economy. The National Park Service estimates that investing in deferred maintenance projects will create more than $40,000 direct infrastructure related jobs, and over 100,000 total jobs. And that's just for deferred maintenance projects at our national parks. This bill includes funding for maintenance projects at other land management and Bureau of Indian Education schools, so the total number of jobs created by this bill will be much higher. The Great American Outdoors Act will help us to be.
Hey, it's so high, he can't give us an actual like number, like, oh, 10 million, 10,000, no, just higher. Yeah, Music Fiend is very happy to finally see one of those Manchin streams. That's his boy, the clown from West Virginia, has wormed his way into Music Fiend's heart. Chirac. Oh, okay, now I see it. Because I just knew you were talking about Antifa. I didn't know that was Schumer can go get bent. He's probably like the least important Democratic leader of the Senate ever. Neoliberalism's son. I mean, hey, if that paternity test checks out, maybe.
Be good stewards of our public lands, while at the same time creating thousands of new jobs. A bipartisan
there we go.
win,
There's a
which
number
we should have more of. We have broad bipartisan support with 60 senators signing on, which is representative of how important these bills are to every state and every county in every state. We have support from the administration and unwavering support from over 850 conservation and sportsman groups throughout the nation. It is a shining example of Democrats and Republicans coming together to put politics aside to do what is best for consumers.
Hey, they always do this. Every time a bunch of them support something, they go, well, it must be good because all of us support it. And the media does that too. 90 senators voted to extend the military budget. This is clearly a great thing. It's like, no, it isn't. And they only vote like the Borg from Star Trek on that stuff because they all get paid by the same people to be little stooges for the defense industry. But it's also funny because he's over here like, this will help out infrastructure. We got a D+, and we've had a D+ for years. So are you gonna like what is this bill going to magically do to reverse all of that?
Serving the natural resource of this great nation. Passage of this bill will be a historic achievement, and I believe this will be one of the most significant conservation bills ever enacted into law. What a legacy all of us can walk away with and look at our children and grandchildren to come and thinking we had a part of something this great.
You have no legacy. Like, even if people just think about this Music Fiend, I guarantee you, if you can remember any bills that Congress has passed, hell, in like the last 20 or 30 years, you sure as hell can't remember who sponsored them. And it's like 60 people on this, like, oh, this is my legacy. Nobody remembers you. The only reason anybody's gonna remember Manchin is because he keeps voting for the other team.
I urge all of my colleagues to join me in voting yes to invoke cloture this evening and begin consideration of the Great American Outdoors Act. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, we finally got that speech out of the way. I believe in infrastructure. No, you don't. It wouldn't have taken this long for you to sponsor something to change that situation. I want to hear Music Fiend describe his connection to Schumer. No, you do something dumb. Splendora says the Green New Deal was sponsored by the biggest supermodel in the house, AOC. Don't start on her again. Oh, I didn't know your father was so high up there in terms of just being known by people. No, I'm good. Every time somebody says they're gonna run for office, they just write some stuff online. He just knows that bum. Man, he is the worst. Like him and Pelosi just need to just be gotten rid of so badly. And it's just when you know that there are people who literally vote for them just because they recognize their names, that like know nothing about them. Damn. That's why I was taking like a little break from like regularly just speaking about this stuff long term, because if you just sit back, it reaches all kind of levels of disturbing. Like with who was it? Feinstein, when I voted against her because she was running for her, I think, 5th term about 2 years ago. I voted against her in the primary, and then I voted against her in general, and she still was there. I was like, damn it, why can't we get rid of this dinosaur? So let me play another video from everybody's favorite treasured senator. I use this one because it's him giving the
Thank you, Senator. And to all my colleagues, I want to thank you for everyone working as hard as they have. And I appreciate very much the job that's been done here and working in a bipartisan spirit.
Black Pill writes, I heard the great Senate Majority Leader could possibly lose his position. Well, it'll be the most amazing thing ever. The one woman could beat him. What woman? There are multiple women running for that seat. Who are you talking about? Also, by the way, if you want to see just him do a comeback, go look up his 2014 re-election race. It was the same story. McConnell's going to lose. The Republicans are going to lose their lead. And then he still was able to pull it out. So I don't buy it.
Every one of us benefit from this. This is a legacy piece of legislation that we can all, hopefully our children, generations to come, we're going to look back and says, my grandfather, my father, my uncle, my aunt was involved in giving me an opportunity to enjoy a part of America that maybe I couldn't have done. And we had access to it. But in West Virginia, you get access to the New River, to the Golly, has been provided by LWCF money. The park system that we have, and people come to visit, and we have hundreds of thousands of visitors every year, is done because of the Restore Our Parks and people being able to come. I told them just about 4 or 5 months ago, I took my family, we were in Hawaii, and when senators and Congress people go into Hawaii on a Codell, we usually don't see what the visitors see down. They don't take us to the visitor center. Well, this time I had gone as a normal visitor, and I walked in. I was appalled at what I saw. It was the maps were falling off the wall. The lights weren't working. It was atrocious.
Oh, they love doing that. That makes them sound more country. No, he was appalled when he went in there. He was describing it. I hushed it because I was trying to read what was being written.
And I had a meeting with the staff right then, there. I came back, and at that time, David Bernhardt and Rob Wallace, we started talking. I said, gentlemen, I said, that's the birthplace, basically defining who we are as a superpower and the hope of the world. And for our veterans to have to come and see that and say, this is where it began, something had to be done. So we started right then renovating and fixing up. I think I spent $10 million out of contingency fund. So I know what it takes. And Senator Alexander has led this fight with Senator Warner and others as far as on Restore Our Parks. Teddy Roosevelt will be proud of you, Senator Alexander, what you've done and leading this charge and all of us working together.
Oh, that is a huge joke. Yes, the supposedly first progressive president would be proud of a bunch of conservatives wanking each other off in some building for using the itty bitty amount of money to renovate some place that is outdated as hell.
Putting these two bills together was a masterstroke, I believe, of how we could come together. It's brought all of us together. There's not one person here that I believe. We have a few of our friends that have some challenges that we're going to help them through as soon as we get this bill passed. But in West Virginia, this means the world to us because I can assure you it has benefited our state since 1965. We have benefited every way, shape. 54 out of 55 counties have benefited by it. And now I tell them, whatever you think we've been able to do and however you're happy with what has happened, we can do twice as much. We'll be able to do twice as much on a regular basis. And so I'm proud to be part of this. I'm proud to work with all of us. Senator Heinrich and I worked tonight for a good bit, and our staffs work together very closely, and I appreciate that. And Senator Daines and Gardner and everybody has worked very, very, very close on this. And it just pulled us together. And I hope that we can stay together and keep this spirit of bipartisanship in many, many pieces of legislation. It's going to be great for our country, and that's what we're here to do. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be involved, and thank you for doing what you've done, and all of you.
Now, they love spinning that narrative. As long as all of us agree on it, it automatically is a good thing. That's their favorite little gag to play. No, they pass all kind of horrible stuff as a collective. If you a music can remember the Patriot Act, only one person voted against it, but that's apparently a good thing because it was bipartisan and all of us supported. We reached across the sides of the aisle and got together. So go to hell, please. Just stop. That's the same person keeps on calling me while I'm streaming, asking, "What are you doing?" Like some kind of troll. That was a beacon of democracy. Yeah, because automatically, since everybody voted for it, except one person, to hell with actually reading the bill and the fact that it basically provokes the Fourth Amendment. Like, no, just everybody voted for it, so it must be good. We could never criticize it for anything. It was funny when Manchin was like, he was like, the people of West Virginia are so grateful. And then if you go and look at his election results between when he ran for the Senate the first time, for the first full term, which was in 2012, and then for his second term in 2018, it's like he just loses so much support to where you know that he pissed a whole bunch of people off in that first full term. He's like, I understand the people. No, you don't. Police were called because a drunk guy fell asleep in the drive-thru. Responded, woke him up, and he fell back asleep. So they asked him to take a breathalyzer, and he got out of his car, beat the hell out of both of the police, stole a taser, and tried to run away. When they got up and ordered him to stop, he turned around and pointed the taser at one of them. And since they already got beat to hell and did not have the one taser between them anymore, they are forced to defend themselves with a gun. No, they always have a choice. Now everything the officers do, they have a choice to do. The hell with actually reviewing the circumstances. We're just going to say that they always have a choice. What the hell? Hey, music fan, that's my favorite thing where like somebody else brings up a topic and then two people just start arguing over it or try to argue over it. Because when I did that Candace Owens streams, it was like two guys sitting in there talking about how the Democrats have tricked African Americans. I was like, I don't even vote for them. Why is this here? Take it out. Also, now I'm BS because he's writing something you don't like. Now we have two BSers in here. We have Manchin and Splendora. They got together. They're both sowing seeds. I don't know what you love is saying true too, but I don't know. I guess he just wants to take somebody's side because he's partisan. That's my favorite thing. Where anytime you take a position, or you're being political, it's like everybody is. They just don't say anything usually. They're trying to appeal to the most people. I want to play a third video of this man. Let me see. Originally, I have 4 lined up, but the last week he's got this video about him getting tested for the virus. Damn, he just put up a video 11 minutes ago. Let's check that one out.
President, today we'll have a series of votes on the Great American Outdoors Act, including to adopt the substitute amendment. 60 of my Senate colleagues have co-sponsored this bill, and 20 more joined us last week, resulting in strong bipartisan votes to begin consideration of the bill. These votes today will put us within one vote of passing the important bipartisan legislation. Over the last week, many of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle have taken to the floor to talk about how the Great American Outdoors Act will benefit the entire country and to share examples of how their home states have been positively impacted already by the Land and Water Conservation Fund. It is a testament to the importance of this historic conservation legislation that it has brought so many of us together in such a toxic atmosphere. But that's the beauty of our nation's great outdoors. It brings us all together, of all walks and shapes, political preferences, makes no difference. We all love the outdoors. And it is available for everyone to enjoy in any number of ways, whether that...
That's a lie. We don't all love the outdoors. I know some people that like to sit at home and get on the computer and stay on there all day. Okay, there's some argument erupting in the chat. I was going to chime in, but I just said to hell with it. I'll let them talk to each other while I do my stream.
Hunting, hiking, fishing, biking, and they're just simply soaking in nature. The Land and Water Conservation Fund has been responsible for helping to acquire many of our nation's most iconic scenic lands and to provide wonderful outdoor recreation opportunities. But it's important to remember that it's also used in many ways that provide an economic boost to our states and counties, whether that be through the LWCF grant allowing community spaces to be built, like the 47 community pools the LWCF supported across my beautiful state of West Virginia, or a baseball field in Colorado. And it's a job creator. A recent
my beautiful state. They love doing that where they just pretend like their state is the best place in the world. Like I was saying, I'll go, my beautiful state of California. And you said then you go downtown to any big city over here and you see nothing but tents and homeless people. I was like, this is so beautiful. No, it's a conservation bill. Granzil, we're having two things now where I'm speaking about the video I'm playing and then they're over there arguing about some, I don't know, police officer shooting that Splendora brought up for whatever reason.
Analysis from Boston University shows that a full funding of $900 million annually, the LWCF could support approximately 15 to 28,000 jobs at a time when our country needs it most. The Land and Water Conservation Fund is a major contributor to the rapidly growing outdoor recreation economy. According to the most recent information provided by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the U.S. outdoor recreation economy accounts for 2.2% of the $427 billion of our nation's gross domestic product. Likewise, the Outdoor Industry Association has calculated that the outdoor recreation economy generates almost $890 million in annual consumer spending and supports over 7.6
I don't think you can put that
million
up.
jobs. The Land and Water Conservation Fund has been able to do wonderful things with the funds that have been appropriated to date, even though those appropriations in recent years have only averaged about half of the authorized funding level. And in previous years were even less than that.
Wait, what did he write? Just too many Democrats have been racing farther and farther to the left. What the heck? All of the Democratic leadership is conservative, sir. Schumer's conservative, Pelosi's conservative, Clyburn damn sure is conservative. Manchin, the guy we're doing this stream about, is conservative. So I don't know what. I think what it is that people get so entrenched by the squad, they think everybody in the party acts that way, and that's, at least out of the elected officials, anything but the case. And then, yeah, Music Fiend says, you think this new generation of Democrats are far left? Hell, a lot of the ones that got elected during the midterm are right wing. Like, what? We need like a percentage. It's going to be like 9 or 10 progressives and then like 400 or 500 conservatives. Like that is a joke.
Just imagine what we can achieve for our country with full LWCF funding of $900 million per year, as the Great American Outdoors Act will provide. We need to secure these funding because since the Land and Water Conservation Fund was established 55 years ago, and despite the fact that every state, every territory, and almost every county in this country has benefited from the LWCF, it has only been fully funded twice. I say only fully funded twice in 55 years. Passing permanent LWCF authorization last year was an important step, but securing a permanent dedicated funding source for the multiple conservation programs funded by the LWCF is the ultimate goal. I'd be remiss not to acknowledge that many Democratic senators and members of the House, both retired and here today, who have been champions for LWCF, helping to pave the way to where we are today, within striking distance of realizing the goal of permanent mandatory funding.
I was about to look this group's name up on my phone, and it froze. It's like, damn it. Okay, Music Fiend said Democrats in the U.S. are literally more right-wing than a good amount of European conservatives. Exactly. What it is that on social issues, you might get a little bit of variance. Like you'll have Democrats who will support some level of gun control, LGBT stuff, whatever. But if you look at a lot of economic issues, they pretty much go hand in foot, because even though most of the Democrats voted against Trump's stupid tax cut from 3 years ago, a lot of them still support everything else he's tried to do. Like they'll still vote for whoever his small business administrator person was. What was that, McMahon? They voted for her. I mean, they're just a really, their opposition typically, if they have any at all, is right-leaning on most international issues and some domestic stuff as well. Where did that to 83% to the top 1%? That was my favorite line. Trying to virtue signal to African Americans by wearing a traditional garment from an African culture most known for attacking other African tribes and forcing them into slavery. I don't know what Democrats have done that, but I mean, it hasn't personally impacted me. I'm not going to vote for you because you're wearing some clown's clothes. Like, what the hell? Libertarians should be treated as allies, considering we agree on a lot of social issues. I thought we agree on a lot of international issues.
And I'm incredibly proud, as ranking member of the Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee, as a sponsor of the LWCF Permanent Funding Act and the lead Democrat on this bill, to be in good company of 43 of my Democratic colleagues who signed on to this legislation. As a member of the Appropriations Committee as well, I've heard the concerns that this bill sidesteps the ability of committee to oversee LWCF expenditures. And I want to take a moment to clarify that this isn't the case. The Great American Outdoors Act remains and retains congressional oversight and involvement in determining how the mandatory funding is allocated. To quote from the bill, Appropriations Act may provide for alternate allocations of amounts made available, including allocations by account, program, and project. There is a similar language for deferred maintenance spending. The Great American Outdoors Act is necessary, however, to ensure that the full $900 million each year authorized for the Land and Water Conservation Fund must be spent so that we don't end up with what's happened in the past 50 years, where over $21 billion has been deposited into the Land and Water Conservation Fund, but not used for LWCF purposes, and never will be. We'll never see that. It's into the Treasury. Similarly, the Great American Outdoors Act takes the necessary step of putting $9.5 billion towards deferred maintenance project on federal lands, with 70% of that amount dedicated for our national parks. This legislation will be the most significant reduction ever in eliminating a major portion of deferred maintenance backlog on our national parks and public lands. The impact of failing to fund maintenance for so long is clear to see for the hundreds of millions of visitors to our public lands each year, including deteriorating historic buildings as Independence Hall.
But if fixing them was actually something that mattered to them, why would it take years for after they've been deteriorating to actually do something about it? Anyways, let me read some of these comments. Grand Zeal says, these guys are tricking the general public. Democrats, Republicans, far left, alt-right, live for Uber, vegan, or meat eaters, blah, blah. Music Fiend says, Democrats pander a lot. I found myself watching an awful lot of Stokely Carmichael. That's quite a raiment of people to watch. I had this one relative I mentioned Carmichael to, and they were like, I haven't heard his name in a long time, because they know that unless you're MLK or Malcolm X or Fred Hampton, and like if you're part of the civil rights movement, nobody gives a damn about you. Unless you got blown to pieces, nobody cares about you. And they got mad. Like, it's true. You got to get murdered to get mentioned later on. Hey, Music Fiend, you remember what was his name? Benjamin Mays. He was the Morehouse president for almost 30 years, and he was MLK's mentor. But because he didn't get shot, and he actually had a long career that influenced a whole generation of people, nothing at all. You might see like his name on a bill, and that's about it. It's so pathetic. Or Ralph Abernathy. That was MLK's top guy. That was his right-hand man. And the most you ever get of any mentioning of him is that book he wrote, a year before he died, where he mentioned that King was screwing some prostitutes. Like, he took over the Southern Christian Leadership Conference after King died. He was with him in just everywhere, took over the Poor People's Campaign, and gets completely ignored because he didn't get murdered. Yeah, Ulove says, what was his name? Exactly. We need like a top 10 greatest forgotten African Americans video or something. That's pretty much all the members of the Big Six, other than King and Lewis. Just do all this stuff, and then you don't get remembered because you're not a contemporary figure that they have a holiday for. Never seen him in the history books are pretty garbage. I had a history book when I was in 10th grade. They literally mentioned King twice. They mentioned what the "I Have a Dream" speech, and he got murdered. I was like, really? That's the total sum existence of what this man did. Oh my God, the U.S. is so just not even just the U.S. Just history when it's taught is so garbage. They skip over so many people, and then because people generally don't care that much to actually learn anything, they're not even going to look for it themselves.
Failing water treatment facilities at Yosemite and Grand Canyon, public access roads in our national parks enforced in disrepair, and outdated, unsafe employee housing. We need to do better taking care of these very, very special places. The infrastructure projects that will be funded through this bill are critical to protecting many of our national treasures. And like the LWCF funding, will provide a significant benefit to the outdoor recreation economy. The Great American Outdoors Act will help us to be good stewards of our public lands, while at the same time creating thousands of new jobs. It's a bipartisan win-win. At the end of the day, this is an opportunity for us to pass down a legacy to our kids, to our grandkids, and generations to come. I believe this will be the most impactful nationwide conservation legislation since the Land and Water Conservation Fund was first created over 50 years ago. And 50 years from now, I know that this body will be remembered for getting this bill across the finish line.
Black Pill, this isn't the conspiracy theory stream. We're not in here to start rewriting history because we feel like it. What pillow? What these? Oh my God. Yeah, Music Fiend. They got all the important people just thrown to the wayside. If you say so.
Line. We have broad bipartisan support with 60 senators signing on, which is representative of how important these bills are to every state. We have support from the administration and unwavering support from over 900 conservation and sportsman groups throughout the nation. And I know that all my colleagues can support this bill, and others would have liked to have seen their parties added. I also want to mention to you that I know, as it's been portrayed by some, that we're doing one instead of the other. So we're taking care of recreation and outdoors while there might be coastal deterioration, and we're very concerned about that. But I want you to know, since there has been offshore drilling, a tremendous amount of those resources have gone to the 4 coastal states of Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas.
I like how all those states except for Texas are pretty much like we have to subsidize them over here, where like they have welfare programs where they can't, the people in the states can't pay them off, so they have to import money from California because of our size. So when you see all those people talking about, we hope California leaves the union. Well, yeah, you're going to lose your welfare. No, it was posted very recently. Like it's been on YouTube for less than the stream's been going, because it was like 11 minutes ago when I saw it had been posted. So no. How does it connect to the Bureau of Land Management that needs to be defunded? Hey, you can go ask Manchin. White supremacist doctor. Man, please don't start with me on that stuff, because I'm not in the mood. Remember when MLK got stabbed in the chest by a crazy black lady that lived until, what, like 4 or 5 years ago? Remember when MLK's mother was murdered by a black guy who was trying to kill his dad and missed? You know, I'm not in the mood.
Louisiana is the only state that has used all of their funds for coastal restoration, and I applaud them for that. And I know how costly that has and how costly it will be. And we will help in any way we possibly can. But it's not either or. It's not that we're getting this and they're being punished for something else. That is not the case whatsoever. We're finally getting the funds that were basically dedicated 55 years ago that never did go to LWCF, Land Water Conservation Funds. And we have over $9 billion in our park system that needs to be repaired. And we're using these funds in the most prudent possible way we can. And we would hope that everyone would look at it in the most positive way, pass something that we can all look back on and be very, very proud. I know that My commitment to you as a ranking member of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee is to work with senators on their priorities. It always has been and it always will be. No matter what party affiliation, Democrats or Republicans, when you're in a position of being a ranking member or being chairman of that committee, you work with all of the committee members. And it's helping to ensure consideration of those bills in committee on the Senate floor. What we saw last week, and I anticipate we will see again today, is a shining example of Democrats and Republicans coming together to put politics aside, to do what is best for conserving the natural resources of this great nation.
They ain't doing nothing. Music Fiend wrote, if I didn't live in Harlem, I probably wouldn't have known about the MLK stabbing in the 50s. Well, I've never lived in Harlem and I knew about it because I actually researched the man's life. It's just one of those things that's inconvenient to talk about because when you're fighting white oppression and you mention that this black person was attacked out of nowhere and for no reason by another black person, it's not a convenient thing to mention. So that's why it doesn't get talked about as often. Now I remember they had a book. It was a Jet magazine issue, and I saw it one time and I left it alone. And there's like a part of me that regrets it a bit. But it was published after King was murdered, and they had must be 10 or 15 different times he either got assaulted or someone like tried to kill him or do some kind of great physical harm to him. At very young, because the library had a load of black bios. Did it have one on A. Philip Randolph? You know, the guy that founded the first black labor union? One of the first African-American labor officials, one of the principal organizers of the March on Washington. Did it have something on him? I'm very curious. I don't know. I've never actually at any library I've gone to seen a book on him. So I'm not aware if they had or not. I'm asking you, like in a non-joking capacity. Love says, I'm learning so much in this stream. Oh, hey, that's why probably I didn't read every. Oh, my Music Fiend. Come on, don't do that. Did he expect me to read every book? No, I was just asking if this particular person that I think is very important had a biography on them at this library that you're saying had books on African Americans. Terrorists use violence or the threat of violence to advance a political agenda. So yes, rioting and threatening to riot for political reasons is by definition terrorism. Well, I never said it wasn't. Who's saying that it wasn't? I didn't say that it wasn't. That was some other character. Oh, damn! I didn't read Granzill's comment. That's why he left. Flint, Michigan still needs water. Yes. You know, you have people who are so damn stupid because Flint doesn't get talked about on the news every night. They actually think that's over. Like, I thought Flint had clean water. No, idiot. And then they'll go, why would you insult me for not? Because no one ever said that the water would have been fixed. God, it's like just because something isn't getting mentioned on the news every night doesn't mean it's not happening. Oh, that was a really dumb person. I thought Flint had clean water. According to who? The people who live there sure make the difference. So I said I'm just surrounded by so many people who purposely choose to not know things. I was clarifying why I stated before that black. Well, I try to not talk about the first group because, like I said, they kind of have a hive mentality where if you don't agree with what they're saying, you're not as much of your ethnicity or whatever. I'm just not in the mood for that. Like, if you want to talk about them, whatever. But I'm tired of that getting insulted for just having a dissenting opinion. Like, if you read some of the stuff they're writing about Candace Owens, And I was pretty critical of her little video that she put out, but it's like you're talking about you're you're paid by the like, man, come on. I don't need to read that or see that. Other people think citizens Obama supported African Americans when he foreclosed thousands of black businesses. Well, it's because he was a Democrat and he was the right ethnicity. So that I mean, like the same thing is happening with Booker and Harris and the rest of them. Uh, as long as you're a minority and you're like, there's a lot of racial stuff that goes on with Democrats that people don't like to talk about. Like when they were saying, we don't need an old white male or a white male period to be the candidate, which was the stupidest thing I've ever heard because I've never voted for someone and said due to their gender or ethnicity, I'm not going to support them. So why the hell is it okay to be racist toward white dudes now? Go to libraries in a predominantly black neighborhood. Most books on African Americans, white neighborhood books on everybody. Like imagine you go to a black library, they got all kind of books on all these different black people, and then you go to a white library, you got the whole law, like every like you go to the black library, it's like going to I don't know. I'm thinking of a big, but like basically the regular the white neighborhoods have a library that's like the Walmart to like the Target or Kmart of the black library. Just the way that was written, white neighborhoods, books on everybody, the whole world. They got a book on the Shah from Iran. Oh my god. That's literally how it is. I moved to the suburbs and read everything about the solar system afterwards. Remember when Pluto was a planet until like maybe 12 or 13 years ago? That was really hard for me to believe because I couldn't. It was like just the newest planet they found turned out to just be another rock that they were tricked into thinking was a planet for like what 20 years, 15 years, some ridiculously large amount of time. I would look up what the actual date was. My phone is frozen. Yeah, these devices get just more annoying every year. Oops, yeah, that was my mistake. Uh, no, I really get tired of just technology sometimes. They make themselves more confusing. It was too small. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the reason they gave. But I mean, it's not like it decreased in size from when they found it. They were tricked into thinking that was a planet for years, for at least over a decade. Oh, did you notice how Klobuchar is suddenly no longer considered to be the running for vice president since Floyd happened? Yeah, because I remember there was a story about how she was getting vetted, and it was a really big deal because she was the first person that was confirmed to be getting vetted. And then right after the Floyd story came out, by the way, it has been kind of sad to watch some of the commentary on that because people were like, "There's a good chance we're going to have social reform due to what." Like, man, they're going to talk about him for maybe another 4 weeks at most, and then we'll go right back to the way that we treat every other person that got murdered or something like that. It's just it's not like they're not going to have enough sustained outrage to even really do anything. And then Music Fiend decided to spam the letter A because I guess he thought that was cool. He thought nobody would notice that his comments were getting progressively lazier, not as well thought out. That was his decision. Let me look up Pluto. How long that was a planet. I feel really ridiculous. I said it was like in the 90s. No, it was okay, 1930. And then They started questioning if it was really a planet in '92, uh, and then in 2005 they unlisted it as a planet. So we got duped. I like how there's a Wikipedia article on the ninth planet. Like just like yeah, there might be one out there, but for now, no. Klobuchar is a senator from Minnesota, but used to be prosecuted, and the officer that killed had 18 abuse complaints, and she was the prosecutor that chose not to prosecute many times. Yeah, she's directly tied into it. But that's why it was funny because they were trying to say, "Oh my God, Harris is going to get hurt by being a career prosecutor." Well, hell, so is Klobuchar. She's literally just the exact same thing, except it's even worse for her because now we know for a fact that one of the cops she let off did this. People have shirts that say I can breathe." They should be buying shirts that say I can't read instead. I mean, literacy has dropped considerably. So wait, shirts that say I can breathe. And you can put breathe. You put breath. I can breath. That's false advertising. Who's this? I can breathe too. Yeah, me as well. Oh, your autocorrect is what messed that up, huh? I figured because I didn't, I didn't think you were just like so excited. Let me type this. Oh yeah. Also, I'm gonna be doing an upload on this stupid thing with this chick tomorrow. So look forward to that. Uh, I think we pretty much said everything we have to say. Yeah, Manchin is stupid. I'm glad we did this because there's like a whole bunch of I really hadn't been paying much attention to him recently. So that was the point of the thumbnail. We didn't forget about you, Joey. So if there are any final comments, claims, decisions, statements to make, say them now or hold your peace until next Saturday. Or Saturday rather. Mm. Or maybe Thursday. Most likely Saturday because I'm just. Do you think all of these companies promote just to promote their brand? Well, racism is not something that is marketable. Like you only decrease your audience if you appear to not be sympathetic toward a particular ethnic group, like to where they just massively stop buying your stuff. So they're doing all this little supporting type crap because they want to trick you into thinking that they care about you. It's just like with The Bachelor. Everybody was going, "Oh my God, they got a black person on there for the first time in 20 years." Like, so what? Like, who is going to be stopped from getting murdered because of that? Who's going to be able to go to school because of that? Like, it's just it's a scam. I feel like it was more than her, but I'll take Splendor's word for it. Music Fiend says he wants to take all female officers and show them his middle finger between his legs or something, and that they're going to learn how to be good Samaritans from that experience. Typical squad nonsense. Well, like I said, the majority of Democrats are not like that. They're too right wing to believe they're moving for like it's only because AOC and some of the other ones get a lot of media attention that you think that if you look at most of the members and what they support, the only thing they voted for as a collective that was good was to get out of Yemen, and even then, that's only after what 4 years of people getting murdered over there for no reason. That's about as left wing as they get. They're all pushing that Russia crap. They're all like, it's just. But yeah, Music Fiend was trying to be dirty. He said he wanted to take the female officers and show them his set of handcuffs. But yeah, I'll upload stuff for the rest of the week and then stream again on Saturday. So thank you for attending. This has been the Great Manchin Revival, and he's still a clown even months and months later. Accusings are okay. Well, no, well, I didn't accuse him of any crimes. Well, of war crimes, but I accuse all the like recent presidents of that. Anyway, see you later.